Men and women, and you, soul who listens to me now, I, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor and philosopher, come today to invite you to a crucial reflection. Many avoid a fundamental truth, yet it is the most potent of teachers, death. I speak not of it as a terrifying specter, but as a constant counselor, a daily reminder of life's brevity and the urgency of living with purpose and rectitude. It's common to fear its shadow, seeing it as the ultimate enemy. However, if you observe it closely, with the reason and serenity that philosophy teaches us, you will find in it a stern, yet invaluable master. It does not frighten you, it awakens you. It does not diminish you, it magnifies you. Embrace its presence, and it will guide you to true wisdom. Observe the ceaseless dance of existence, dear companions, on this journey. Everything arises from apparent nothingness, flourishes in its fullness, and inevitably fades, returning to its primordial state. See the leaf that vigorously sprouts in spring, reaches its vibrant color in summer, and, with the subtle arrival of autumn, withers, dries, and disintegrates back into the earth that bore it. This is the universal law, immutable in its constancy, present in every aspect of the nature that surrounds you. Why then allow your spirit to be troubled by what is so natural and above all inevitable, when the very life manifests and dissolves in continuous cycles? Most of your deepest afflictions and fears, understand this, arise from your intrinsic resistance to this immutable law. You cling vehemently to what is manifestly transient, whether material goods that accumulate dust, reputations that scatter to the wind, ephemeral pleasures that dissipate, or even your own bodies that inevitably age and decay, as if you could eternally retain these forms. Death, by whispering its cold and constant inevitability, reveals the futility and deception of these excessive attachments. It teaches you, with brutal clarity, that true and lasting freedom consists in not depending, in soul and spirit, on what can be taken from you, but rather in finding your unshakable peace in what is immune to its devastating action, your virtue, your innate reason, and your inalienable inner choice. Consider the infinitesimal brevity of your own existence in this vast and indifferent cosmos. Your life is a blink of an eye, a mere ephemeral breath, a minuscule particle in the grandeur of time that stretches beyond your comprehension. Faced with this overwhelming perspective, how can you, in good conscience, waste your precious days on insignificant trifles, on futile disputes that corrode the soul, on the incessant and vain pursuit of external approval or material wealth that, in the end, will crumble to dust? Death calls you to immediate urgency, to dedicate every moment granted to you to what truly matters, the practice of virtue in all its forms and selfless service to the human community, your fellow beings. Each morning, upon awakening from the sleep that emulates death, take a moment to meditate on the real possibility that this might be your last day in physical form. This practice is not meant to induce melancholy or despair, but rather to incite full vividness and gratitude for existence. If this is indeed your final dawn, how will you wish to live the remaining hours on this earthly plane? With lingering resentment? With procrastination that steals time? With vain worries that drain your energy? Or with unshakable rectitude, with clear purpose, with genuine kindness towards your fellow beings, and with deep serenity in your soul? Death forces you, inexorably, to prioritize what is essential. It is the great equalizer, the teacher that makes no distinctions. Before death, the most powerful emperor and the humblest slave are, in their essence, equal. Accumulated wealth, honorary titles that once seemed so grand, physical beauties that once dazzled the eyes, everything vanishes in its relentless passage. What remains, and what truly matters, is the character forged in life, the legacy of your virtuous actions that echo through time, the immaterial essence of who you were as human beings. Do not seek excellence in what death can snatch from you, for that is illusory. Seek it in what it cannot touch, the unshakable integrity of your soul. Many fear death out of profound ignorance, due to distorted fantasies and irrational fears created and nurtured by the ego, which clings to form and the illusion of control. But, in reality, what is death, if not the cyclical return to great nature, the peaceful dismantling of the elements that compose you so that life may continue and reorganize into other forms and manifestations? It is a natural process, as intrinsic to existence and the order of the universe as birth itself. To accept it, therefore, is to accept the very nature of being and the fluidity of existence, and in this lies a deep and liberating inner peace. Death is, in its essence, the supreme counselor of moderation and self-control. It reminds you, with a clarity that pierces illusion, that there is no time for immoderate excesses, for the intemperance that insidiously corrupts the soul and weakens the body. Every moment granted to you is precious, a finite treasure, and must be lived with the utmost discernment, with the right measure in all things, knowing that life is a valuable gift that does not extend indefinitely at the whim of your desires. It invites you, with silent urgency, to fully savor the present, the only real time you possess, and not to squander it in pursuit of empty excesses. It is also the most effective counselor of true forgiveness. Why, in your brief passage, hold grudges that poison your soul? Why harbor enmities that corrode your spirit, when the time given to you is so incalculably short and, in its essence, uncertain? Death compels you with an irrepressible force to genuine reconciliation, to release the heavy chains of the past that imprison you, to extend the hand of compassion and understanding to your brothers, your fellow beings. Resentment is a poison that afflicts your own soul first, not that of the other, who often does not even perceive the hurt. Life is too short to be consumed by anger and hatred. By pondering the inescapable presence of death, your perspective on the daily problems that afflict you suddenly shifts drastically. What seems like a great and overwhelming adversity, before the impersonal vastness of time and the inevitability of the end of all things, reveals itself, in its true proportion, as minuscule, almost insignificant. It teaches you to clearly discern what is truly important, what really deserves your energy and attention, from what is trivial and fleeting, not to be troubled by what is fundamentally beyond your control and sphere of influence. Death is the last and deepest lesson of detachment, the final farewell to all illusions. It forces you, with its inexorable presence, to let go, not to desperately cling to anything that is not your own intrinsic and inalienable virtue. It is in this act of letting go, of detaching from what is external and transient, that you find true freedom, a freedom that does not depend on external circumstances or possessions, but on the serene and courageous disposition of your own mind. It is the silent and definitive door to ultimate serenity. The wise person, my friends, does not fear death in its essence, for they understand and accept it as an intrinsic part of the natural process of existence, a cycle of transformation. They live each day with the fullness and awareness that it might be the last, and each last day as if it were a final rehearsal for the great transition that awaits all. Their life is full and meaningful, not by its quantitative duration, but by its qualitative intensity and its unshakable rectitude. So that the wisdom of these words, which invites you to true freedom, may echo and transform more souls clinging to the chains of others' opinions, like this video now, so this message can bless more people, and to continually receive more philosophical teachings that will help you transform your life, cultivating inner strength and mental clarity. Subscribe to this channel. Your participation extends the reach of this wisdom to others who seek it. Now continuing with our theme, understand that death is not, in its essence, an evil obstacle to life, nor its annihilator, but rather an element that defines it, deeply values it, and gives it its most precious meaning. Without the sharpened awareness of its inevitable finitude, life would lose its urgency, its peculiar sparkle, its intensity, and its intrinsic preciousness. It is its shadow that paradoxically makes the light of each day more intense, more vivid, and consequently, more significant for the soul-seeking truth. Thinking about death constantly invites you to the deepest authenticity. Why live a life that is not truly yours, that is merely a carefully constructed mask to please and impress others, when the time granted to you is so incalculably short? Death compels you, with an irrepressible force, to be who you truly are in your essence, to live in perfect alignment with your deepest and non-negotiable values, without bitter regrets, without deceptive dissimulations. Constant meditation on death is a sublime exercise in humility. It reminds you of your smallness and fragility before the vastness and indifference of the cosmos, and of your complete dependence on the natural order that governs all things. It dissolves arrogance and presumption that often blind you, and invites you to recognize your intrinsic interconnection with everything that exists, from the tiny grain of sand beneath your feet to the distant stars that shine in the night sky. It teaches you the subtle art of detachment, not only from material possessions that burden you, but also from unrealistic expectations and illusions of control. Cling to virtue, yes, for it is unshakable, but not to the final outcome of your actions, for that is beyond your power. Do your best with rectitude, and the rest is in the hands of fate. Death frees you from paralyzing anxiety about the future, for it constantly reminds you that it is, by nature, uncertain. Do not rebel against the inevitable, dear companions, for that is an intrinsically lost battle that only generates useless and bitter suffering. Embrace death as an intrinsic and natural part of life, as the cycle of all things, and you will see that fear, that imprisoning illusion, gradually dissipates, replaced by a deep acceptance and a serene peace that will fill you. It is, in its essence, a silent and profound invitation to peace with reality, exactly as it is. Death is the final and ultimate test of your life philosophy. If you live according to unshakable reason and virtue, if you have truly understood that the greater good resides in your conscious and virtuous choice, death is nothing more than the temporary dissolution of the physical body, not the annihilation of the virtuous soul that resides within you. Do not fear it, for it cannot touch what is essential, immutable, and truly eternal within you. May the image of death, instead of paralyzing you with terror and inaction, inspire you to live with the utmost intensity and purpose. May it propel you to live each day with the keen awareness of one who knows that time is a finite and precious gift. May it guide you to be more just in your actions, more courageous in your convictions, wiser in your choices, and kinder to all, today, at this very moment, for tomorrow is a promise that may not be fulfilled. True, unshakable freedom lies in living every moment of your existence as if it were the last, with fullness and gratitude, and paradoxically, the last moment, as if it were a glorious liberation from the earthly cycle. Disregard the fear of death, for it is an invisible chain, an illusion that prevents you from living fully and embracing joy. When you welcome it as a wise counselor and not as an enemy, each day becomes a celebration of life, a precious opportunity for growth. May these reflections on death, my companions, bring you not paralyzing sadness, but a profound clarity and a renewed sense of purpose. May it be your constant teacher, the silent guide that reminds you of the true meaning and higher purpose of your brief and precious existence. Live well, live with unshakable virtue, and you will always be fully prepared for whatever nature holds in its eternal designs. How can the perspective of death transform the way you live your daily life and your priorities, leading you to a path of greater virtue and serenity? Share your thoughts in the comments.